Okay, so one of the coolest stories of my real estate agent career. I became an agent in Long Beach initially, then transferred to Beverly Hills, became an agent there. And at the time I was doing a lot of co-listing, sharing listing with other agents and just doing whatever I could do to get my name out there. And in addition to doing that, I was also doing a lot of cold calling on vacation rental by owner and these vacation rental websites looking for landlords that wanted to do short-term leases on their property. And my hope was that I could convince them to do longer-term leases or possibly sell the property later down the road. And it was a really good way for me to make a lot of connections, build a lot of relationships, meet a lot of people that I wouldn't have otherwise been able to meet. Because the barrier for entry on a small little lease is much easier to climb than, say, convincing someone to list their property with you that's worth $5 or $10 million. So I was aggressively cold calling every single day for probably 8 to 10 hours and ended up leasing a lot of properties. I would say between 85 and 100, maybe 105 properties within like a 4-year window. I was going really hard the first year, and then as revenue and sales started picking up, I was then focusing more on sales until it kind of got to a point to where it just made more sense to focus on the sales. But one story that stemmed from this was probably one of the coolest stories of my career. I would say probably top 5 for sure. There was a lady, a really good friend of mine, even to this day, and this is 10 years ago. In 2010, I met her cold calling. She had a property in Bel Air, and I asked her if I could help her lease that property. Would she give me the listing? And so she agreed, and we became really good friends. I listed the property for lease. I found a tenant. The tenant just had fire damage in Brentwood, which is a town over from Bel Air. They had fire damage on the property, and they were looking for a 3-month lease through their insurance company while the repairs were taking place on the property. So then what ended up happening was we did the lease. We did it with the California Association of Realtors forms, and then we also did it with the insurance company's forms. The problem was that I was not as familiar with their forms as I should have been, and there were some issues in the lease that I should have noticed. It was my fault. And so the landlord looked at me, and I fully owned up to the responsibility. And for me, I was kind of learning at this period, learning about leasing. I was going really, really hard, but this is right in the beginning as I was cold calling and kind of building out my book of business in that leasing area. And so what I then did was I stayed on as the property manager at no cost, for free, for 3 months, and I only made $1,700 in this lease. So there was a couple options, and some people would have either denied it or said sorry, or not many people would have stayed on board as a full-on property manager for 3 months. I was literally getting phone calls every single day. There was a plumbing issue, there was a little dispute between the landlord and the tenant, and I was there 24/7 for her. And what ended up happening was we became really good friends. We're still good friends to this day. I spoke with her 3 weeks ago. I just had a baby, and right when I had a baby, she called me. And we spoke, and I'm probably gonna go over her house maybe next week. But the reality is that relationships are so important in business. And all it takes is one person that you've done business with to talk bad about you, and it can cost you a lot of business. Growing up, someone told me a quote. They said, John, if you do really, really good by one person, maybe they'll tell one person. You do really bad by one person, they'll probably tell 10. So I took that advice to heart. I ended up leasing the property for her, completed it out. Everything was completely finished. She was satisfied at the end. We spoke every 2 or 3 months after that for 5 years. And then out of nowhere, I get a phone call from her. And she's like, hey, my friend wants to sell her property down the street. And she's kind of looking at agents, and she has one agent she might list with, but I would like to get you the appointment. And so I remember getting this call. I was shocked because I knew exactly who this lady was. And the idea of me kind of coming from New Jersey without any connections and now doing business with someone that's associated with, in my opinion, probably one of the smartest people that's walking the earth today. So I ran over there. I did the appointment. I did a really good job, great presentation. And they called me a week later. And they're like, you know what? We decided we're going to list the property with you. It was kind of like that moment where I was just, it felt so good because I knew that if I can have them as a client, it would be much easier for me to kind of obtain other clients at that price range, at that kind of at that level. So ended up listing the property. I dealt mainly with Elon Musk's ex-wife's mother in the beginning. Listed the property, and then I started dealing with Elon Musk's ex-wife as we completed the sale. But one thing that I'll say about all of them is that both her mother, father, they were just class acts. They were great, genuine, nice people. And it was an honor to actually to do business with them, just kind of see how they do business. That's another great thing when you do real estate and you're doing real estate at a higher level, is you get to see how smart, very smart business people think, how they act, how they respond, how they negotiate, their positions, where they're coming from. And all this does is it gives you a really good foundation to reconsider your own strategies and reconsider the own way that you do business. So we ended up closing this deal. I met with her, we did the negotiations together, and we closed the transaction. And this one small lease that happened 5 years before the closing of this deal that I made basically no money on, doing the right thing there ended up stemming into multiple deals that made me hundreds of thousands of dollars. Hundreds of thousands of dollars. I would have never predicted that happening in 2010. I mean, LA Times did an article, Huffington Post. I have people messaging me all the time about this. And it just goes to show that if you're doing business, do good business and you'll stand the test of time. And people will refer you, people will recommend you. Because it takes a lot of character when things don't go your way to own up and take fault in the fact that they didn't go your way and do the right thing and kind of move it forward. So yeah, this definitely goes down as one of the more cool deals that I've done, all stemming from just such a small little baby lease transaction. So that being said, if you're going to be a real estate agent, go after deals that are going to make sense. Go after deals that show a lot of promise, and go after the clients that can deliver them. Even if those clients initially are just doing small little leases with you, if ultimately they have the contacts, the database, and they have that property that's worth a lot of money, even if you don't end up getting the huge sale from them, you're going to learn a lot from them. And ultimately that knowledge that you're going to learn with doing deals with people that are smarter than you is only going to make you a better businessman and better businesswoman. So always kind of strive to be around people that are smarter than you, and it's going to pay huge dividends. With all that said, I have a rental property giveaway that I'm going to be giving a property away at 250,000 subscribers on YouTube. And I'm really excited about it. I'm going to do a video in maybe 2 or 3 videos from this video here explaining all the details. So please like, comment, subscribe to my channel, and this video will be out very soon, and I'm really looking forward to it. Thank you all.